Hey there, commercial construction coffee talk fans. Thanks for chiming in. My name's David Corson. I'm your host. I'm also the publisher and editor of Commercial Construction Renovation magazine. How's everybody doing? It's the dog days of summer. I know I said that the last couple of times in my episodes, but man, you could fry an egg on the asphalt here in the land. It is hot, 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 hot. You know, you're going to cut the grass. Do it at 7:30, 8 o'clock at night. Last night I'm trimming the bushes, trying to get at a house showing today, trying to make my house look nice. And I came in and my wife's like, "Oh my God, you're soaked." I'm like, "I know, it is still, it's so hot at 9:15 when I'm cleaning up." So, if you're out there working outside, all you construction guys, make sure you stay hydrated. And, believe me, it's hot out there. It's the dog days of summer. School started here in the South. The buses are back out on the road. The roads are clogged up. It's back to normal. Some of the schools are wearing masks, some aren't. Depends on what county you're in. But it's good to see the buses and the schools are open. So that's a good thing. So we're kind of getting back to normal. But all in all, man, the ATL, man, we're the LA of the South, and man, it's hot down here. So wherever you might be, it's hot, but it's really hot here in the ATL. I can't stress that enough. But I'm in the cool air conditioning today, and I've got as usual, there's a thunder boomer brewing. So hopefully my power won't get knocked out, and we'll get through this episode. Today we have a very special guest. He's out there in another really hot place, the Valley of the Sun, Phoenix, Arizona. His name is Peter Colla. He's in medical. He's a writer. He's a jack of all trades. And the way I met this individual is, I haven't really, since the election, I bailed off, Facebook and all the social media and kind of just took a break. And haven't been watching the news. And I've been on YouTube trying to get information and just keep myself advised. Anyway, I found this guy named David Nino Rodriguez. He's a world champion boxer in the heavyweight division. He's out of Mexico, and he has a YouTube channel. And I kind of like him because he tells it like it is. And what really touched me is that David's been sober for a year and 8 months, actually this week. And I know how tough it is, just in general, to get over any kind of device that you might have it hanging on your head, whether it's mental, addiction, love streak, God, I've seen it all. And, myself, I haven't drank for 30 years. I had the epiphany after my second derby living in Louisville, Kentucky, and looked in the mirror one day and said, "Hey man, I got to get off the sauce." So, but David's story has, kind of took to me, and I became a follower. And he's out there, and one of his associates, they sent me a text or an email, I forget. Anyway, I answered it, and we started talking. And I said, "Hey, I'd like to get David on my podcast and talk about, how I am with sports. I always put sports with business and competition, learning how to win, how to lose." And anyway, his associate said, "My husband, plays kind of in your sector, talking about, how you can prevent, accidents on the site and trying to, notify people if they do have an accident, how they recover versus getting hooked on, pharmaceutical meds and that kind of stuff." So I thought it would be a pretty cool gig to have this individual come on and talk about it. You hear the boomer, there it is. And that he'd be able to kind of talk about what he's seen out there, and maybe that you might be able to apply it to your own firm, because we all know we don't want anybody to get hurt out there, on a construction site. And so Peter, say hello to our audience out there in Commercial Construction Coffee Talk out there in Phoenix, Arizona. Yeah, actually, it's Mesa, I think, right? You're in Mesa, right?
Yeah, no, I'm in Phoenix.
Phoenix,
Peter
okay.
Colla, and I am, I'm a practicing medical professional. I've done probably about half of my clientele has been industrial clients of all different kinds of scenarios, everything from families to the big corporations going in and actually having to do ergonomic evaluations of their facilities and try to do to try to reduce the complications and the scenarios of ongoing attacks or ongoing injuries. Yeah, and how I met David Rodriguez was I actually happened to treat him. I was treating him, and we became friends. And I helped him with. I didn't help him with his addiction situation. He had already taken care of that, but I have helped him with other things, chronic. In his particular case, chronic back injuries, PTSD. PTSD being a post-traumatic stress disorder, which is oftentimes accompanies a dramatic event in a person's life. Doesn't necessarily have to be war related as it usually is talked about, but it can be any event. It could be a dramatic event in the business scenario where you have a drastic or extremely devastating attack in your business, your firm, and then suddenly it causes a recurring kind of stress every time you basically see that in your life or in the life of your business. And so when that comes back, it has been proven that stresses can reduce your ability to your resistance. So it actually makes you susceptible to injuries. I found that in my own practice of 25 years, that I had a sort of my own near-death experience. And it was at that point that I decided I was going to put God into the treatment scenario any way I could. And when I did that, I found two things happened. I found I was able to find or treat to the causes of injuries, not just symptomatic relief. And B, when you did that, there was almost a miraculous change or healing that would occur in many cases. People, like you talked about addiction, for example. I opened up an addiction rehabilitation center where I was the rehab side. Another doctor happened to be the medical side, getting a person's off of opioids. And in this particular case, it was opioid addictions of industrial patients of 5 years or more. Well, lo and behold, the majority of the guys that were coming in there were administrators. Mm-hmm. And they had no particular event that they could subscribe or prescribe or say that was the actual point in which it started. They just seemed to have this spontaneous occurrence of issue. And it's very common, which we see in a lot of because it's stress related. The stresses work on the backs or the necks of the people, the administrator. And then all of a sudden he develops degenerative disc or some kind of neuropathy in his hands. He goes to the doctor looks at him, well, maybe, what did you do when you were 6? Well, I played some football when I was 6, maybe, mm-hmm. Football helmet on. Well, that must be it, the 6. So here, take this pain pill, this anti-inflammatory, go home. Well, that doesn't treat the cause. It only treats the symptom. And when the symptom goes away for a little while, and then you're susceptible to the cause coming back in and hitting you again, stress, whatever happened to be the facilitator in some cases, with some industrial accidents, we would find out that the people, it would be as simple as just the way they were turning in a particular workplace. And if you just changed a very slight little physical quality to that, the number of injuries would go down dramatically. We were seeing that like a 50% reduction in the injured just by putting in these little ergonomic changes into the scenario. So much so that I had big businesses coming to me towards the end of my practice and asking me to do these ergonomic evaluations. Then they could save 50% on their industrial insurance just by putting the program in place. It was like, so suddenly the rates, because they had this ergonomic plan in, why? Because you're looking at the causes and you're eliminating causes of potential injuries. Mm-hmm. So that cause-based analysis is what I started writing a book about it. I wrote this book, Heal Yourself for God's Sake. What it allowed me to do is show people, hey, you don't have to come to me to do this. You can apply these same principles to yourself. You can go in and listen. The big lie is that this is stuff that we've had happen to us. No, that's not what's true. Your body doesn't physiologically change. The gift that God gave you, this body, this health, this strength, this character. He gave those to you. That's his gift to you. And then we alter it with one spoon at a time, one experience at a time, alters it. But a disease cannot, boom, immediately transform you into something that you were not created to be. No, they're attacks, just like stresses. And what happens with these attacks when people fall victim to it? So, okay, let's take one of your administrators. He's going along, he's doing just fine. His business is growing, everything's going good. Suddenly, he's having some rough time. Some employees are stealing from him, or worse yet, some competitor decides they're going to falsely accuse him and they're going to go and bring some contract problems down his throat. So he's got all the stress. It works on him. It causes this tension in his neck and his back, and that cuts off the circulation. Like right now, I'm cutting off the circulation in my fist. Okay, so you're still working. The neck muscles are working. The spine is working. So it's producing waste products, but you're not clearing them away. So it becomes an acidic situation, and it becomes degenerative. And so suddenly he's going along. He's getting weaker. Now he's at a particularly difficult time in his life. Boom, it hits him. He gets a neuropathy, or he gets a blown disc in his neck, doing the same thing he's been doing for 30 years. And now suddenly the disc decides to go. Okay. Yeah. So he goes to the doctor. Doctor says, well, let's give you some prednisone or give you a pill for pain, and you go home. So he goes home. He feels a little better. 3 weeks later, stress reoccurs because the workplace, that hasn't gone away. He hasn't addressed the problem. He's only addressed the physical symptom. So 3 weeks later, boom, it hits him again. And this time it hits him worse because it's making the mess that it caused last time, it's making even a worse mess and a worse mess and a worse mess. And each time, if he doesn't address the causes, it will keep coming back. And all he's going to be dealing with is the extra problems that now the pain pills and those things do. Because trust me, they do things too. You're taking a big old pill that's this size, but the amount of actual active ingredients is about the size of a pinhead. So the rest of the stuff in there is not so good for you. It's the delivery system, the toxicities that come with that sort of stuff. We won't have to get into that right now, but there are a lot of other ways that you can reduce pain, especially if you look to the cause. So that's what I teach. I teach people to look to the cause, which I try to help with, and then by looking to the causes, by looking to truths, like you're teaching your people truths, those truths actually, that truth comes from God. Okay, that's an actual energy. Okay, anything that comes from God is real. Its truths are real. Okay, lies are not real. They're the absence of truth. So when you bring in truths and people bring them into themselves, they actually ascend. And that's where I get into this ascension. I actually talk about it on a quantitative level. What happens to our body physically when we ascend? Everybody talks about today, all these truthers and everything are talking about, well, we're ascending. We're okay. Thank you for telling me, but what's happening? Wait, the universe is sending you some pulses that's going to change your DNA. Well, how? How does that happen? How does my DNA actually activate? It's true. We do have dormant DNA. That's been physically and morphologically proven in science. I've done that.
Last night I'm up late and I'm watching Ancient Aliens. It's on the tube, and I'm doing some bookkeeping. Anyway, they were talking about the squid, and the squid doesn't have any DNA. And it's a really smart creature, but they can't figure out. It's one of the only animals that's on the planet that doesn't have the DNA that's associated. And they think a meteorite came in and crashed into the ocean and created this being over millions and millions of years. But it changes colors. It's very, very smart. It's a predator. It's a friendly creature. It's got, but they can't. But the amazing thing is they found out that not to get technological, and I'm not one of these geek guys, but I thought it was really interesting that they found out that that the DNAs were very, very similar to human beings. However, the DNA code just isn't from our natural origin.
What I've understood and what's interesting, well, you bring up the squid and the octopus and squid are actually
Actually, it was an octopus. Squid, yeah. They know it came from here, yeah. But the octopus.
But did you know that our eye, the eye that we have, is closer related to the octopus's eye than any other creature on the planet?
Oh,
our
yeah.
eye. And our other organs are actually, our internal organs are actually closer to the pigs. We have our structure of our bone structure might resemble chimpanzees, but a lot of other things don't. And so when you look at the genetics, so God is very wonderful in his ability to create us. And what he does say very clearly, if you're a believer in God, which I am, that we are bodies, minds, and spirits. And that's the whole premise of my change is I don't just treat the body, basically just pills, physical stimulus, treat one little piece of tissue, one little, little disc in the middle of your back. No, but I do it from a mind standpoint, experiential, positive reinforcement. You've heard of that, and all of those kind of positive energy, positive reinforcement, bringing that good stuff in water, electricity, good things that bring positive changes to the body and not negative things. And then spiritual. Do we believe we can get better? Do we believe that we deserve to get better? You know how many times I've had patients walk in the door and say to me, "Oh, I understand. Yeah, I understand my knee, and I can get better. And I understand even God wants me to get better, but you don't know what I've done. You don't know what I've done. I've done worse than you could possibly think. No one has done as bad as me. I deserve what." They believe that somehow that they are, when people start believing that they are something, like an alcoholic, instead of suffering from a curse of alcoholism, of an attack of alcohol. 30 years ago, when I learned this stuff, we were told that this is all attacks. Mm-hmm. We were told that you overcome sicknesses. You get heart attacks. You overcome the flu. Now you catch the flu. Used to tell that to everybody. Now they're like, no. You are a cancer patient. You are a diabetic, an arthritic. Even the word doesn't make sense. Arthritis in the Latin means arthro-itis. Itis is an attack. So it's an attack of the arthro, which causes swelling. Your body swells to protect itself from the attack. So it doesn't make any sense to call it something that you've become. They say, "Oh, no, the swelling is the sickness." No, it's not. That's the protective mechanism to stop you from being attacked.
With being a believer, believe it or not. Listen, I'm a nice Jewish boy from New York, Philly. All right, bar mitzvah with my two cousins. After that, I wrote my thank you notes, and then from there, I kind of, dwindled out, and really didn't do anything. And I had kind of an epiphany back. I was on a plane. I did an event up in Boston. I'm flying back, and there was a Marine that got killed in Afghanistan, and he was on our plane. And I saw the coffin get, put on the plane. And the Marine, they always fly with another Marine as a guardian on the plane. So he actually sat. He was right in front. Actually, he was right next to me. So when we landed, the pilot came on the PA and said, "Hey, listen, everybody stay in their seats. We have to do a ceremony with the coffin coming off the plane." And so it was completely silent. I was right by the window. I always sit in the exit row, not because I want to get out first. I I've seen too many people sit in the exit row that, that probably can't lift a 45-pound window, but they're in there. So I
Yeah,
want to
yeah,
make sure if anything happens, I can pick the window up and I can throw it out the window and get out and help people. So
yeah.
that's why I sit in the exit row. So
Okay.
anyway, it's really, really quiet. People are crying, and I'm watching the coffin, and this lady behind her, she's on her phone, and she wasn't even American. She was, somewhere from, she had the Spanish accent. So I'm out. The bottom line is she was American. She's just yakking on her phone. So I could turn around and go, turn that freaking phone off,
Mhm,
you know?
mhm.
And so anyway, she turned it off, and the guys at Delta did an awesome job. And I wrote my column when and I took a picture of the coffin coming off, and it really, really touched me. And at that same weekend, it was the Colorado shooting at the theater. Um, so I came back, and it really touched me. And I told my wife, and I said, you know what? I think I'm going to go to church tomorrow. And she's like, you're going to what? And I said, yeah, I think I'm going to go to church. I've never read the Bible. I think I'm going to read the Bible too. So I had to decide which church I was going to go to. So my son, when he was young, he went to the local church, and for pre-K and all that. And
Yeah,
I said, look, I'm going to go there because they don't make you wear suits and ties. They've got a nice band, and
yeah.
the pastor there kind of puts everything into modern. He takes the Bible and applies it to modern day. So I went there, and I started reading the Bible. And the Bible is a wicked vicious, there's death, there's destruction, there's sex, there's drugs, there's all sorts of stuff in there. And I've been reading the Bible now for years, and I still haven't even, I haven't even gotten to where Jesus has been born yet, because I read a couple pages and I'll go through it.
Yeah.
And so anyway, I became friends with the deacons in the back, and I get to the charity, but it was an amazing thing. So my parents, they thought I had like joined a cult, and they came down here to visit me. And my mom's like, I'm going to this church to see what the heck is going on. So she went, and I'm using my wife's Bible so to read. So she went to the church service with it, and she came out and she said, that was really, really cool the way that they do things. And you've actually changed. You've actually become much more calmer than you used to be. You
Mm.
used to be, look, I was a hockey lacrosse player. I took on big guys. I've been put together. They call me Captain Lego. I've broken more fingers, ribs. I've had both my ACLs done.
You
Talk
got an
about,
occupational hazard with hockey players.
we talk, well, I'm a black belt. I blew my knee out 2 weeks before my black belt test, and I understand about the opioid addiction, because
Yeah,
they would say, hey, do you want me to give you some Percocet? And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to eat one, and then I'm not. It's not going to do anything for me,
yeah.
and so
Or the minute it wears off, you need to have
yeah.
another one.
So I've gone through all that pain medication and all that kind of stuff. But getting back to the believer thing, that uh, I believe, I take everything in, just like I do on the web right now. I
Yeah,
don't read the fake news. I don't even turn it on. And I just kind of get my things on the web. I follow certain people. And, some things I believe, some things I don't. But what happened was I kind of was looking at the Bible, and I was like, wow, this is kind of just like sports. It's a very, look, there's
yeah,
competition, David, a little guy took on the bigger guy,
right.
and all of those things. Yeah, and they went and fought and came back and got all the things that they stole from him, and so all of these things, and then the Psalms and the Book of Genesis and Revelations, and so and like I said, I'm still reading the thing. The other thing that happened to me was I was in Houston, and this is after about a year or two going to service every Sunday
Mhm.
religiously. I don't I would go there unless I
Yeah.
was out of town, and then I can watch the power of the web. I can watch the sermon online.
Mhm.
So this gentleman sits next to me, uh, and he wasn't very nice. He sat down. He had probably a long day. And I said hello. We were sitting in a 2-seat. I think it was a 3 and 2 back to Atlanta. So he kind of fell asleep, and then he woke up, and then he told me he was from Delaware, and he was going through home in through Atlanta to back to Philly, and but it was like he was like a completely different person. Here he is, a pastor. We had a nice conversation. I told him what I was doing. Hey, I'm reading the Bible and blah 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 and this and that. And I swear to God, I thought I was sitting next to Jesus.
Mhm.
And
Maybe you
it
were.
was it was it was an African American guy. But the whole demeanor changed. It was the weirdest thing. So about a week later, I get this package in the mail. Okay. And he sent me a Bible with my name on it. And
Nice.
it just freaking blew me away.
Yeah.
So every day he sends me a text, and I'm on this group text in the morning of like, daily, positive thought or whatever. And
It's like it's an angel in your life. I mean, that's
yeah. So anyway, every Sunday night, I haven't done it for a while because I kind of fell off the radar. I got, but he was calling me every Sunday night, and we would talk about the week, and then he would pray for me.
Yeah.
And my wife would listen to it because I used to put him on the speaker so she could hear what the heck was going on. And so going through this whole transformation, and believe me, I started my company in 2001 with the dot-com burst. Right after 9/11, one of the worst times you could probably start your company. I quit Nielsen. I started my publishing firm. I went through the crash of '08. Saw my whole world, turned upside down. Now the pandemic, talk about some sleepless nights and, going, oh my God, I went from print face to face to a digital guy and thinking, am I going to make it? And all of these things, but today I'm still standing here by the grace of God.
Yeah.
And that, but I take one day at a time though.
Yeah.
Because
perfect.
And the thing about, Nino is the reason why I like him is because he's doing one day at a time. And I've already, and he tells it like it is. He throws some at for anybody out there.
You're almost like, you're like a living example of what I'm talking about, because the minute I put God, not God saying I have, whoa, please pray for these people. No, it's considering godly things. Like, why, God, is this happening to these people? Asking the questions. I have not because there's a Bible verse that says you have not because you ask not. I overuse that. So I ask all the time. Person walks into my office, someone like you. And so I'll say to myself, I'll just very quickly say, okay, God, I don't really see what's going on with this guy. So tell me. And I ask very silently, and he tells me. And that's when I started doing that, it wasn't like immediate, but over the course of 10 years, he started showing me miracles that would occur by doing this. And that wasn't just miracles like people. I mean, I saw everything. I saw a man walk away from he had terminal lymph cancer where they wrote him off. He was dead in 6 months. His whole side of his face, everything was burned from radiation. He was not they wouldn't even treat him. He came to my office for one reason, and because he had migraines. So I did a little migraine work with him, and I just prayed to God, what do you want me to do this guy? I couldn't even charge him because the insurance company wouldn't even pay for it. But he was a friend of mine. And so I started, you know what God told me to do? He says, don't treat his injury. Treat what he can do, not what he can't. So we started working his good side. And before you know it, his paralyzed side started moving too. And maybe about 3 or 4 months, he stopped coming. I saw him 3 years later. He walks into my office. He says, I have to thank you. Oh my God, Gary, you look great. He goes, you saved my life. I've practiced for 35 years and never heard hardly any, I'm a physical therapist. You don't hear people say you saved my life. It's not like exercise saved your life, but to have this guy say it, that was the start. I started hearing that all the time after that. But he said, it was your philosophy of looking past the cancer, he said, and treating what I still had. He said, that prayer, that did it for me. He said, I know that's what healed me. You look at him today, there's not a scar on him. He's completely normal. His arm completely healed. All that flesh that was burned is gone. It looks like a baby. And that's just one. I've seen it over and over, and people with 5 years of addictions of opioids in one day, by looking to the cause, boom, gone. Because their attention goes there. And when the attention, your attention, like you did with your, even these situations that you're talking about, you put your attention on it and you see it as a spirit. You see that there's a malevolence there. When you put your attention on it, that drives out the spiritual side, because light chases away darkness. It doesn't matter what religion you practice, Judaism, Christianity, it doesn't matter. They all have the same basic concept that light drives out or causes darkness to flee. Okay, so when you put your attention, when you ask God to show me what's going on in my life, and it's not me, but it's something happening to me, that attention causes the spirit to go. Now you're only left with the dormant casing. The viruses are not harmful to us. They're only harmful if you bring them in and make them a part of yourself. You have to bring them in. That means an active, willing participant. You have to say, you know how many comorbid patients I've treated? Dozens.
Yeah.
And I don't wear a mask. I'm not afraid. I give them hugs. I know I'm not going to get it. You know how I know? I know what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Before I was a physical therapist, I was an immunologist up in Leeuwarden in Holland, in Europe. And I worked under Dr. Hogenkamp, and I worked with using some of the most deadly diseases in the world, the Black Death. I held it in my hand. But she taught me how to not be afraid, because if you don't make yourself susceptible to it, it can't hurt you. And all you have to do is clean yourself properly before and after you handle it. And there's no chance you're going to get it. And if you have that confidence and you don't have fear, because fear attracts attack as much as tension does. See, that's what I teach people, is take away the fear, take away your stress by putting your attention on what's really going on. And then you know what happens? The fire alarm goes off. Your pain doesn't need to be there anymore, because it's done its job. It's told you where the real problem is. The problem is this attack. And you keep ignoring it and saying, well, something I have because I played, football, when I was in high school. So no, bullshit. Your body, every molecule in your body changes within a 2-year time frame. That means everything that's in you is new. It's how does it get replaced based on this, on your perception.
So with the tangent, kind of talking to our audience here,
Yes.
if you're, listen, construction's stressful. It's dangerous. Competition, your spheres. You're on deadlines, things happen, things don't get delivered, especially today, building products are scarce. They might hold up the project and if you blow a project, you're not going to get another one. It doesn't matter if you're an end user or if you're a contractor or an engineer or an architect. Looking at like the whole pandemic of people's lives.
Don't let those stresses put you in a position of fear, so that if you okay, what I teach, and this, we're running out of time here,
Mm-hmm.
but what I teach is that the body is extremely small on a physical level. It's very small. The physical is it's momentary in space. Even the spaces between the atoms are so great that we have mostly space there. So that space is where the spirit dwells. The spirit is much greater than the physicality of the body. If you use that same principles in all aspects, even in business, and you say, okay, I know I've got this stress coming in, so I need to de-stress. How do you de-stress? Okay, what is the main symptom of stress? Desocialization and isolation. So you have to do the opposite to de-stress. You actually push yourself out there and have your people actually do things that may not move directly against this business problem that you're dealing with, which is causing stress, but actually causes all of them then to de-stress. And so you go out and do company picnic. go out and do maybe a social event and go out and sponsor youth with a mission. I don't know. You go out and do something for the children. And hey, we're going to all do this weekend. Company's going to pay for it. And desocialization. Desocialization is the best medicine for stress and for addiction. Addiction, number one symptom, isolation and removal from society. That's what people do. They isolate and they withdraw. So the best medicine, the absolute best medicine, is the opposite of the symptom. And not just a pill. The pill's very small. If you attack it from a spiritual basis, you're attacking it in a massive way. Instead of like just that little pinpoint on earth, now you're in the clouds. So your effectiveness is massive. You take your staff and you suddenly go out and do something social as a de-stressor for this increased stress that's causing me, and watch what happens. When you start bringing your staff and you care about them, doing ergonomic evaluations of their thing, because you care about your people, they see that you care about the causes, and what that cause that allows them then to go, their whole ascension goes up, their whole attitude goes up. They, you know what, we're on your side. You know what, we're with you. We're gonna take them down together. That's the attitude you start getting when you start bringing up the entire, the people love you. When you start looking at their well-being. Okay, that's all ergonomics is the well-being of the people that are working for you. And it can be in many different ways. It's not just physical. It can be experiential. What kinds of experiences are these people do? What are they listening to on TV? Hard rock blasting them while they're in their workplace, or something that actually is soothing and making them feel better? There's all kinds of different aspects to this. And that's what I try to teach, that's what I've tried to teach, 25 years of my own practice. And then later on, I was doing it program developing for many businesses. And now I just do it as consultation. I write my books and have people, they contact me if they want to.
Hey, like if someone wanted to reach out to you and, and listen, anybody out there in commercial construction coffee talk, man, listen, we've all gone through the pandemic since last March 2020.
Oh, yeah.
And we come in, we come out, we don't know what's coming down the pike. You really have to go day by day because, there's so much stuff that's happening out there. And, if you had an injury, or if you want to learn how you can make your sites more, safe, with your people. I was just having a conversation with a project manager the other day. He was looking on the site visit and he saw some guy that was underneath the trusses were swinging. He didn't have a hard hat. He called the superintendent up. He's like, what's going on there? You got to get that guy with a hard hat on, blah, blah, blah. We don't want anybody getting hurt, and if he gets hurt and he doesn't show, but they got to have a file of his home, because, we weren't. So, these are the discussions that, that I have with people. I get resumes. Hey, I've been hired in, I was furloughed. I was laid off. Can you help me land someplace? I've sent out, hundreds of resumes. I've got umpteen million assets to bring to a firm. No one wants to hire me. And I see all of these things. So I know that there are people out there that are A, stressed, B, maybe they, because of the pandemic, they were isolated, they got into drinking or other things. So, if you're looking for some answers, and you can't find them yourself, how would they reach out to you?
Well, first of all, if they want to reach out to me, if you're asking me for my contact information, if that's what you're talking about.
Yeah. How would they reach out to you?
So the easiest way to reach me is actually, I publish a lot of writing on my blog site, paulerpeter.com. I have contact information there. They can also email me, posture.is.everything@gmail.com. I respond to all my emails. I do workshops. I do one-on-one consultations with people. I have patients who come and they do one-on-one. And sometimes it's not just for physical stuff, although that's the majority of what people come to. And then I have, of course, my books that are available on Amazon, Quantum Ascension and Heal Yourself for God's Sake. Yeah.
I listen, I pitch my magazine too, so I appreciate that.
Yeah. So those, that's,
Tell your email again. What was it again? What was your
my
email again?
email is posture, POSTURE dot everything. So posture is everything with dots in between at gmail.com. The books for now are available on Amazon until I find a publisher. I actually have written about 10 books. I've only published 3, but anyways, so I would leave to answer your question.
Yeah, we want a positive thought. What would be a positive thought or phrase you want to leave with our?
Right on the subject. If you believe in God, which almost everybody does, and you think it's possible to apply more than just what we're told, maybe have a higher purpose these days to these mundane lives that we're living, rather than this little squirrel life that we seem to be doing. If there's God, what do you want us to do? Okay. And it doesn't matter if you're an injured person, you're an administrator, you're an owner. Ultimately, it falls down into this one basic statement. He asked us to do one thing. Only one thing did he tell us to do: love our neighbor. Well, what does that mean? It means reaching out and helping somebody any way you can. You want to help yourself in a situation where you've lost your job. You know what? The best way to do it, reach out and help someone else. Anyway, if you don't have money, you reach out with truth. You help your neighbor with the truths that you've learned, that he's learning on your coffee talk show. You're telling things that are happening in the world. You said yourself, you're going to the web because they're not getting the information from MSN. You're bringing truths to people. When you bring truths and healing are the same thing. That's the positive energy from God that causes us to heal. When your people bring truths of any kind, they're injecting love, truth, God. It's all the same. It's the same energy. And if they want to do anything for themselves, and they're frustrated, the easiest way to anti-addiction, anti-removal from society, that's what this whole scamdemic was all about. It was to isolate everybody. This causes your immune system to go down, by the way.
Oh, it's been scientifically we don't want to go down any of that stuff. No. But so, I'm with you.
The best way to counter that then is reaching out to
reaching out.
Help somebody. Bring a truth. Hey, have you seen this? What David Nino Rodriguez has done? Hey, watch some of that stuff. I think it'd help you. At least it would help you, so you're not afraid. Hey, I get a little bit higher perspective here. It's not as scary as they're making it seem. Fear not. Fear not. That's my point. That's what I'm trying to get.
You know what's funny is for those of you who don't know David Rodriguez, you can find him. You just Google him on YouTube. But the thing is, he always says, he's like, hey, I thought it was tough going in the ring, getting punched in the face my whole life. Becoming a boxer and all that, and being bullied when he was little, and became a champion, and then now they've demonetized him on YouTube. They've taken this down and that down. So he's fighting a different battle. Plus,
it's a fight for souls is what we're fighting today.
So if you're out there in business, I don't care if you're the owner, if you're an employee, if you're a contractor, architect, engineer, shop owner, developer, whoever's listening to the channel or one of my subscribers, if you got something on, and you're looking for them, hey, try something different. And and I always say at the end of my comms, keep the faith. And people, I just say keep the faith.
It's a great way that's a perfect statement.
Yeah, I always say at the end of my comms, and as always, keep the faith. And that's kind of the way I like. Listen, my days are long. I just hope I can get up in the next morning, and we'll start another day. Every day is another battle. You do your best on it. Just like when I'm a coach, or I tell my team, look, as long as you leave it all on the field, you can go back and look yourself in the mirror, and you did a good job. Whether you won or lost, you're gonna learn from it. You can apply it to business, to your personal life, and all those things. So I hope everybody out there, like I said, this isn't our normal guest, but I thought it was very, very timely, because not only do I watch this client that is on the web, but I also thought with everybody going through the pandemic and everybody's going through different things, depending on what state you're in, what kind of lockdown situation you're in. I mean, last year, the last 18 months have been very stressful for everybody. And it's going to get very, very stressful here, in the fall, because we really, everything they say, the variants coming in and all the stuff, inflation, it's just, it can really, really, you got to stay positive, and it's tough because all the news is just negative and it builds on you. So, that's why I wanted Peter on here to kind of have a little different vibe on commercial construction coffee talk today. So hopefully you enjoyed our episode today. If anybody wants to reach me, you can always get me at davidc@ccr-mag.com. If you're not a subscriber, we'd love to have you. We have our next issue coming out next week. We sent it out to 125,000 people. We just had 2.5 million people hit our website last month. So we've got plenty of content. If you got any good stories out there, send them to us. We'll find some place for it, whether it's in the magazine or on social media. We look at everything. It's like playing the lottery. I always say, if you don't buy a ticket, you can't win. You don't send me something, I can't look at it. So, take advantage of it when you can. So Peter, it's a pleasure meeting you. I had thoroughly enjoyed the conversation.
And we'll have to talk again sometime. I loved it.
Yeah. And, tell Nino, I want to get him on as a guest.
So I already did. I sent him.
Come on, man. Come on there. We want to hear your story too.
I texted him this morning, told him all about you, and then I'm going to send him this video, and as soon as I get a copy, and he probably will contact you.
No, listen, we like athletes because, like I said, there's so many guys who play football, lacrosse, hockey, tennis, wrestlers.
Hey, you're a martial artist. I've been practicing martial arts for 35 years. I got 3 black belts. What's your practice? What black belt?
Taekwondo.
Yeah. Oh, I taekwondo too.
Yeah. You know what happened is, I was taking my kid. He went into taekwondo. We put him on.
And you liked it, so you decided to do it yourself.
Well, what happened was I'm very tough on my kid. So I would go down to the class and I'd sit there with the other parents and watch. And I'm looking at my kid and I'm like, oh my God, when he's like 15 or 16, he's going to be a monster. He's going to take a swing at me. So I go, I better take the class to protect myself. So I went in. He wasn't too keen on it, but I took the class, and he was a brown belt. And we were both brown belts.
So he's up there.
He got the flu. This was before the pandemic. He got the flu. And I said, look, take a couple of weeks off and you can get back on the mat. After he got the flu, he didn't want to go back. And I just kept going. And I tried to, I offered him money. I tried to get him.
How old is he?
I tried to get him to go back. I go, you're right at the top.
How old is he?
You're at the summit. You only have 2 belts to go. Red, black, you got to go. You got to reach the summit.
But brown belt is pretty high. He's got enough info to get him through life. I mean,
So anyway, so I couldn't get him back in. So I just continued on. So 2 weeks before I take my black belt test, I'm going down to Miami. I'm going down to look at a hotel for one of my retreats. And they go, hey, Mr. Corson, do you want to do one more jump side kick? And my flight was like 10:30. It was like 8. And I'm looking like, oh, yeah, put up the bag. So I go, I jump, break the board, come down, boom, blow my knee out. And I knew I've already blown my ACL. So I heard the thing pop. I'm looking at it, and the whole class, like, dead silent. They run over and they're all looking down at me. I'm like, get me up. And I'm like, oh, man. And I knew I had. So I got in my car. I go down the airport. I call my wife. I said, oh, my God, I think I just blew my knee out. So I go down. I fly down, get to the hotel. I said, look, can you get me a bag of ice? I need to ice my knee. I woke up the next morning. My knee was like a cantaloupe.
Yeah.
And I was only 2 weeks away from getting my black belt. So I knew the ordeal. I had the surgery. They put the new rubber band in, 2 screws, and I already done the therapy. So I did it at the house. I went in once a month to the therapist. They would measure my, flexibility and stuff. And I got back on the mat in July, and I had my surgery in November. Got back on the mat in July, and then I took my black belt test in September and passed. And that was one of the greatest things. And I always say, finish what you start.
Absolutely.
And that's what I tried to instill in my son. And I told him, I said, look, I didn't get my college degree after like 20 years. And I had melanoma back in 06. And I saw my University of Denver had a booth at a trade show. And I talked my way back into school at 46 years old. And I needed 2 classes to get my diploma. And I was always bummed out I never got it. But I went back, I got my diploma. And it was one of the most proudest things in my life was getting that diploma, even though it was just a piece of paper. Yeah. And But I
It's the
went out and I
accomplishment.
did it.
It's the finishing the job, you know, it's
Yeah.
the,
So I tried
yeah.
to instill that. I said, Brody, well, you know what? And, right now he's just graduated FA, just got by higher Delta, and he's taking his first of 5 tests starting next week to get his A&P license, which is airframe and powertrain.
Well,
And,
his goals might be different than yours. I mean, his
well,
finishing,
what I told him, I said, look,
those are quite accomplishments in themselves.
but what I
what
told him, I
he's
said,
doing.
look, you can go back. I still want you someday to go back and get your black belt because you're so close. You've got to get back on the mat and spend about 6 months, go take your test and go get that thing. Okay. Because you're an elite group. Not everybody's a black belt. Okay. Okay. Everybody can be a president or CEO or whatever, but not everybody's a black belt. It's a finite, community. And you know what? Taekwondo taught me a lot of things. You never stop learning. The journey's always there. There are more degrees, and you learn new stuff.
Absolutely.
And that was and my instructor. He was. But
After Taekwondo, I did Harongdo. Have you ever heard of that?
Yeah.
That's the grandpa of Taekwondo, and that's more like the Kung Fu. Freaking A, is that difficult because you're learning all these joint locks and weapons and all the different things that you don't learn in Taekwondo. Taekwondo.
Well, we did weapons, and he was getting into the more,
cool.
some of the the grappling and but the thing was though that I learned how to protect myself. It calmed me down, just like the Bible did.
Confidence.
Yeah, and it was and it was something that but that was my main thing. I didn't want my hit. I always told my kids, I said, look, if you ever take a swing at me, and would appreciate this. You ever take a swing at me, you better knock me out, because when I get up and I pick my teeth out of the blood on the ground, I'm coming for you, man. Okay, and I'm taking on a lot bigger guys. Yeah. On the ice, on the lacrosse field, whatever.
I'll tell Nino to better watch out when he interviews you.
Well, anyway, I just, I'm not a dirty guy, but I play rough, and I don't back down.
He's a big fucker, I'll tell you. I've had him in my house. He's
a monster, man. He's a big dude.
He's about 6'4", and he's probably about 285.
Well, he's losing some weight. He's doing the kilo thing, Is that one of his advertising?
No, but he's big anyways. I mean,
no. Listen,
my kids are football players in high school, and they said they come, they go, and he saw him eating dinner, and they go, how much do you bench press? He goes, now? He goes, oh, not much anymore, about 400.
Yeah.
400?
Everybody out there, I hope you enjoyed this one. This one went a little longer, but listen, we talked about a lot of great stuff. You found a little bit more about me. So hopefully you enjoyed that conversation. And everybody out there, stay cool the rest of the summer. Peter, pleasure meeting you. Hopefully I'll meet you in person someday. Yeah. My parents have a place up in Cave Creek, so we go to get out there. They're out there.
You're ever out there, come see me.
There's an event I'm supposed to do in December.
I'm a good cook, brother. I'm an Italian cook.
I do my cocktail. We do a cocktail party out there. There's always an event in December, so we're gonna see if it's gonna happen. If so, we'll get together then, and we'll meet in person. We'll have a cup of coffee or whatever. So everybody out there, Peter, say goodbye out there in the Valley of the Sun. Pleasure.
Thank you, guys.
And all you commercial construction coffee talk land out there, have enjoy the rest of the summer. Stay cool, stay hydrated, and look, if you got anything hanging in your mind, you got aches or pain or whatever, you want to, give Peter a call or reach out to him, man. He's here.
Absolutely.
For you. Okay? And I'm here for you too.
All my emails.
Send me. I'm here too. So with that, we're going to say goodbye for commercial construction coffee talk. We will see you next time on CCCT. And Peter, pleasure. It was awesome. Thank you. See ya.